Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So, it's my Monday night look back at a classic rock album. So before we get started, I want to apologize. The lighting, for some reason, is not good with the camera tonight. I'm not really sure what the issue is. Same lighting as always. Same position, but for some reason the camera is not picking up things very well. Anyways, I'll do the best I can with low lighting. Some of these things are going to be changing this year anyway. So, starting tonight, we're doing a look back at a classic rock album, a progressive rock album, of course. Tonight, we're doing Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here." This album is, to me, the most sounding like Dark Side of the Moon of all of their albums. I bought it not too long ago, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, I think. And I thought that it would have some stuff on I hadn't heard before, but it was everything on here I've heard before. So even though it was on my playlist, it probably won't be on there very long. It's just because I've listened to it so much in the past. I didn't realize that I had owned bits and pieces of this for years, but hadn't owned it as a collection. So, anyways, we'll start the way we always start with these things, which is album is Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here," released September the 12th, 1975. Studio was EMI in London. It's about 45 minutes in length. Harvest label in the UK, Columbia label in the US, and produced, of course, by Pink Floyd. This album features 4 people, Pink Floyd members, that is. David Gilmour on vocals, guitars, pedal steel guitar. He also does the Junka AKS and additional bass and glass harmonica, whatever that is. I'm not familiar with this instrument. I don't know. I've never heard of it before. So if anybody knows something about it, maybe I have heard of it, but it's never been called that. That's probably more likely what it is. And of course, he does some of the effects as well. Roger Waters, vocals, bass, additional guitar, glass harmonica again, and tape effects. So it looks like all of them do tape effects. Nick Mason, drums, percussion, timpani, and cymbals, and also tape effects, of course. And then we have Richard Wright on Hammond organ, assemblage, mini moog, electric piano, I guess is the term you want to call it, clavinet, and regular Steinway piano as well, and of course tape effects like everybody. Okay, so anyways, it has 5 tracks on it for those of you who aren't familiar with it. And I'm just going to change it so I can look at my notes on the tracks as I was listening to it. I generally like to listen to the album, even though, in this case, I've listened to this album many times over the years, all the different tracks. But sometimes when you sit and actually listen to the album, you hear things that, oh yeah, I forgot that was in there, or I never heard that in there before. Okay, so the first part of the album is called Shine On You Crazy Diamond. That's part 1 to 4. 5. Parts 1 to 5. Some really melancholy, it's a really long, slow, melancholy opening, featuring pretty much guitar and synthesizer background noises. Roger Waters does the vocals on this particular track. The guitar solo is good, but it's stretched out, and And of course, it's your typical guitar solo by Gilmour. It's very melancholy and very stretched out, I guess is the best way to put it. But it's a good solo. I like it. Then we get to the second song, which is one of the most weird, bizarre songs in progressive rock. Certainly one of Pink Floyd's more bizarre songs. I don't know if it would rival stuff on King Crimson's albums, but it's definitely up there in strangeness. It's got this kind of a helicopter noise that starts out. That's the best that I can put it. It's like a helicopter noise, but it's muffled. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but certainly that's the case, as that's the way I hear it anyways. The vocals on this song are done by David Gilmour, and there's an acoustic guitar and keyboards that kind of play together through most parts of the back part of the song. And the keyboards are very eerie. With the acoustic guitar playing with them, it gives it kind of a difficult way to describe it. But it's a good song. My friend used to use this particular song for his answering machine back in the days when you had landlines and answering machines attached to the landline. He had this recorded so that when you would phone him and you would pick up the phone, his machine would pick up the phone and would say, "Welcome to the machine." Yeah, just really, really smart use of the song, I think. The third track is "Have a Cigar." This probably is my favorite track on the album, and I'm not sure why that is. It's sung by Roy Harper. He's the lead vocals on this. A guest feature on this. It's got this really heavy guitar riff. The bass and drums are strong on this track as well. And then there's this really heavy guitar solo. I don't know if it's because of that I like this song the most, or it's just because it's the one I probably listened to the least of all the tracks. Like, I've heard it the least of all the songs on the album. Could be one of them. It could either be that, or it could be just that it's the heaviest track on the album. Anyways, it's a real good song as well. Then you get to the title track, which is "Wish You Were Here." Starts out switching from it's like it's switching radio stations on a radio set, and then the vocals, of course, are done by Gilmour. There's a kind of an acoustic guitar on top of this kind of I don't know how you want to describe that. Yeah, it's got this kind of overlay that's on top of the guitar. I'm not sure if I think it's a keyboard instrument or maybe a synthesizer that's being played over top of the guitar. It sounds different. You know, that's the one thing about Pink Floyd, you know, and one of the reasons I like them is that you can listen to a song for a lot of times and still not really understand what's happening there and how that noise is being made. They're one of the best groups at making noises that are difficult to figure out. And then you have, of course, the final track, which is "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," and this is parts 6 through 9 with Waters and I believe Gilmour doing vocals, different vocals on each. Some really good stuff here, some really good Hammond organ. It's a little more acoustic oriented than, well, no, it's not. It's I think the song is more instrumental, this part, than the first part. Although the first part has a fairly lengthy part at the beginning that is instrumental, and then there's some vocals. With this one, it's maybe not quite as long, that part. anyways, the first track and the fifth track, "Shine On You, Crazy Diamond," were written as a kind of tribute to Syd Barrett, who is one of the original members of the group, and probably the original leader, I think. But he developed mental illness, and so he had to be let go from the band. Anyways, it's a great album. Lots of really interesting sounds, and it has such a Pink Floyd sound to it. To me, when I'm thinking of Pink Floyd, the sound that Pink Floyd make, what makes Pink Floyd Pink Floyd, this album, Dark Side of the Moon, are probably the most Pink Floyd, most like that sound. They're very similar albums in a lot of ways. I think Dark Side of the Moon is probably heavier and more varied. The songs on this album tend to be a little bit more singular, like they tend to all fall within a certain style and range. Anyways, there you have it. So that's Pink Floyd's "Wish You Were Here" album for tonight's album. And I do again apologize for this crappy video. I may have to do it again if it doesn't come out at least a little bit more decent. I'm not even sure what's causing it, because I've done several videos in this room in the last little bit, and I never had this kind of issue, but it might be the computer itself, who knows. But at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated, and we'll be back next Monday, with another classic rock album look back. Look back at a classic rock album. That's what I meant to say. A little bit dyslexic today as well. Anyways, you have a good evening, and we will see you soon.